Hey, everybody. It's Anthony Sika with his rockin' guests. We were doing a live stream of a movie review for 1996's Barbed Wire, starring Pamela Anderson. Dark Horse Comics creation, got turned into one of the first female-led movies on the big screen, not counting Wonder Woman on the small screen, but one of the first bad girl comic book movies ever. 1996. I got some friends with me here. We got over to my right of the screen, we got Daryl from Virginia. He's joining us. Then below me, I got Daniel Driscoll, also known as Dark Driscoll. And over here on the corner, I got Mr. Jeff Riffin Rankin over there. He's rocking. Well, guess what? We did a half an hour review of Barbed Wire, but I showed one too many copyrighted clips, and they stopped the stream. So whatever. Real quick, we're gonna go in reverse order. Daryl, tell me what you think of the movie, and pretend all those viewers out there, pretend you watched the clip with us, and it's pretty much I'll sum it up, okay?
Yeah, let's reenact it in the back.
Boom, 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 boom. Hey, babe, don't call me babe. All right, and then I showed another clip where she was posing as a stripper. I didn't show that clip, but I showed the following one. And she's like undercover, so to speak, not. And then she rescues a girl, and she uses a grappling hook and falls out the window with the girl. The girl says, "What the hell are you doing?" She says, "Haven't you seen Batman?" And we go from there. And then she goes to return the girl to parents that are paying her money, and they say, "We only have half the money." And she, in a mock accent, she says, "Only half? Then you only get half a girl." And then they give her their car. And then we never see the car for the rest of the movie, by the way. So I don't know what happened to that car. But I'm going to sum it up real quick before I go to Daryl. It's the year 2017. A group called the Congressionals, which are actually government officials, they decide to have a civil war with the people that want to be free. And the Congressionals now rule the country of America. They decide to adopt fascist Nazi uniforms to drive the point home. And they also are planning to unleash a virus that compromises your immune system and wants to keep the people under control with this biochemically created virus. I think it's called COVID-17. I could be wrong. But Cora D, the activist rebel kind of rebel symbol of hope for the rebel forces that we actually don't see in the movie. The rebellion symbol, she's trying to get to Canada. Why she needs to go to Canada to tell people about the virus, I don't know. But the whole story revolves around these set of contact lenses, which will allow you to get through customs, I guess, with where everything is scanned through your retinal scans, and not rectal, but retinal. And that about sums it up. I think it's very prophetic. I'm rewinding some of the things we talked about. Daniel, I'm going to let him speak again briefly to sum up his conclusions of the movie. But I'm going to start with my good buddy Daryl from Virginia there. Daryl, what do you think about, give us your hot takes on the movie and any redeeming factors, if any, and what you hate about it?
The 19-year-old in me thinks this is the greatest movie in the history of the world. You've got this absurdly gorgeous woman right at the beginning getting soaked with water on a swing. Good movie. You got guns, you got motorcycles, you got leather. Awesome. The movie, the plot of everything was actually not bad. It was actually not bad. It wasn't this epicness that was maybe loosely based on Casablanca, which shocked me when I was watching a review of it, and they said that, and I was like, wait a minute, I think they might have something, which I thought was interesting. Then you've got Jango Fett in the movie, which I thought was fun. Younger Django, and who else was in it? C.J. Parker, we all know, Pam Anderson. But the one thing that I thought was really interesting is, I don't know what the guy's name, I can't remember the character name, but he was the main kind of bad guy. But I just saw M. Bison the entire time from Street Fighter. So I thought that was interesting.
His name is Steve Railsback, Colonel Victor Prizer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Steve Railsback. He was an actual baddie in several other movies. Not to mention the acting of Clint Howard. Always comes up.
Clint Howard, he's a guy that Ron Howard's brother, for those who don't know. He's been in, I don't even know how many movies. He won an MTV award for his legacy in movies, which is amazing to me. And but let's get to the special effects, which really were good. They weren't fake. They weren't CGI'd. This was pre that stuff. Most of the stuff that was actually done by the characters, like Pam Anderson, riding motorcycles, learning to shoot guns. In one of the things she was talking about, riding the motorcycle, how she wrecked multiple times. So that's pretty impressive.
She had airbags though, so she's all right.
Not one, but touche.
Right. Look at it. He's got notes.
I do have notes. Most of my notes involve lines from the movie. The one thing that really made me chuckle every time, and it happened a few times in the movie, you can do pretty much anything to her except don't call her babe.
Right.
I don't know why that was such a sticking point for her, but it was don't.
It's brought up in one of the early comics.
Mm-hmm.
I think issue 2 or 3 of her first initial run from '93, and then they just thought that was a gag to put in there. So there it goes. Jeff, I'm going to wake you up and have you speak.
Yes.
Oh man. So, great. I mean, the movie. All right. So good movie for a number of things. I'm not going to say it was, my favorite of fave movies, but I'm going to say it definitely gets credit where credit's deserved because it stayed to its actual action realm, that we all grew up in the late 80s to the mid 90s. Great pyrotechnics, great action. And what I did realize in this movie, because I'm a big, huge action movie buff, and like a lot of martial art movies, you mentioned a little earlier, like about the crane scene. I haven't really seen that. I've seen that scene quite a bit in a lot of Hong Kong type movies, John Woo style movies, Jackie Chan in Police Academy had this one scene where he was on like on a crane and that he was doing a battle. So it seems like there was a lot. The director obviously had a lot of loves for many different action styles, and I think they put them together quite well. But one of my favorite scenes, and it is the one that you played, it was fairly early in the movie, and it made me laugh because she goes for a cigarette pack as she's walking into the kitchen, and when she pulls that out and she asks for her light, she blows this thing at this guy like a spitball, and it looked like a red spitball, like just hits this guy in the head, and it's like, oh, I'm dead, right?
It was a poison dart.
Yeah, poison dart. Okay. Did you see the size of the Sharif? I think is the character's name. He was a creepy, weird guy. Anyway, come to my quarters. Yeah. I was like, look here, sicko. I wouldn't be going anywhere personally with you. All right. It just seems kind of creepy. But anyway, that getting through all that, there was a lot of parts that remind me of like, a good martial art Asian type, Eastern style movie with the motorcycle scene, just a number of setups there. But going through the movie also, there was like key points that you really liked. You liked what was his name? Curly, her like, I guess if you have Batman, and then what was the
her Alfred?
Her Alfred, exactly. He was such a cool. He's just a good actor in general. Udo Kier, just an amazing actor in general with other movies, and I thought he played a really good sidekick. And I like the part where after the like Nazi type group, they come in. What'd you say? Congression? What were the name? Again?
Congressionals.
The Congressionals. They come into her bar.
You could call them Republicans or Democrats, whatever you prefer.
Right. They just come into a bar, and they completely, they're looking for these lenses, and they destroy the entire place. And this guy, he's just so cool. After everything is destroyed, yeah, I'm just going to sit here with this push broom. I mean, the place is completely annihilated, and he's pushing glass around, takes a drink, throws it back down on the ground, and continues pushing glass. I was like, that's kind of interesting. It's like, shit, bam, damn, I got to clean it anyway. Right?
And ironically, they get discovered by the blind guy. The brother.
Yep.
The brother actually liked as a character, man. I thought
it's like Daredevil.
I wish he would have, like, a couple of areas. I wish he would have had a backstory. I wish he had a little bit of a backstory on the brother, a little bit more to really pull out his character, because I think there was a lot there that we probably don't know about. Of course, the military scene with barbed wire, on how she how did she become who she was? What was this relationship that she had with the what was it, the chief or whatever of the police?
It was Axel. It was Axel, and then also the chief. Chief Willis.
Yeah, and it's just like there was a couple things you just wish you knew that there was more, right?
Yeah.
But you really enjoyed those characters. But overall, I thought there was like a lot of entry characters that we enjoy into today's day and age of movies, right? Like the gentleman who we see in Mandalorian as Boba Fett. His part in this was actually, I didn't even know he was in there until I rewatched it again. I was like, oh my gosh. But the female that was with him as well, I think she's pretty well known in movies of today too.
Her name's Victoria Rowell. I think she was on ER and stuff after that, believe it or not. But
yeah, because I've seen her face a lot.
Cora D, she was the whole point of the movie. And Tamara Morrison, who Aquaman's dad, and also Boba Fett and Jango Fett. He played both Fetts and all the clones in the Clone Wars movie, or whatever it was called, episode 5 or episode 2. He's a great actor, and his star's on the rise now. Now, as far as what Jeff said about what Jeff commented about the backstory, Barbara Kopetsky and her brother Charlie, they were both in the Army at the same time, battling in Seattle. They weren't, I don't think that it seemed like they were even in the same places during the battles, which that always works out in the movies, brothers and sisters, whatever. That scene was one of my favorites because Pamela Anderson or Barbed Wire, she wasn't Barbed Wire, she was Barbara Kopetsky before the war ended. And she was like, it was almost like leaving Saigon or leaving Hanoi at the end of Vietnam. They were beat and they were getting out of town, and she was supposed to run away with Axel, and he went somewhere else. And why they didn't try to find each other, I don't know. But, it's again, the Casablanca. Why in all the gin joints in the world does she got to step into my bar? It's the same thing. The Hammerhead was the same thing as Sam's bar or Humphrey Bogart's bar in Casablanca. It is Casablanca, just with a lot of leather and corsets and cranes and dumpsters and grenades and Uzis. But it is Casablanca, and I think that was one of the reasons why they dressed the fascist U.S. government officials as to resemble Nazis. And but that's the thing. Daniel, you said your piece in Barbed Wire Take 1. Here's a little barbed wire. So I'm going to leave it to you. To how about you sum up what you said before in another take?
Yeah, so basically, as a comic book movie, I think at this time in movies we hadn't quite hit our footing for adapting comic books, right? But this is a comic book, right? It has men and women of exaggerated features, and various stages of undress and leather and different costumes and stuff. It has an overabundance of guns. They don't quite accomplish the John Woo bullet counting in this. The precision that he did it with in Hard Target, and this is more the unlimited ammo type of guns. But who cares? That's the same you'd get in a comic book. The explosions, the stunts, the action. I mean, the poses. We were watching the one scene before it, got taken down, but where she is just in like a full split with both guns, shooting. That's if anything but a comic splash page. I mean, it's exactly what you would see. So I think in a time where they hadn't quite figured out how to make comic books look like cinema, that would come a little bit closer to 2000s and early 2000s and stuff. I mean, this delivers exactly what it was meant to deliver, and as much as an adaptation of a comic book, that's about as true to it as you can get. And it has its laughable moments, but it's entertaining. And it's fun, and that's what it's supposed to be.
Well, if the last movie we reviewed said, it can't rain all the time, this movie, of course, said, "Don't call me babe." The movie did not do that well. It cost $9 million, which is, by the way, absurd to think a movie with that much action in it and gunfighting and stellar cast cost $9 million to make, even in 1996. That seems real low. The movie only made $4 million.
Wow.
Now, that's just on box office. That's not on DVDs. And understand, in 1996, when this came out in 96, and then it was out on VHS in 97, it was literally on VHS. So we did have the age of Blockbuster Video. We did have Walmart and Best Buy and Circuit City and every other place selling this. And I guess that's where they made up their money. Now, as you can see, I got myself a barbed wire poster. That is a vintage barbed wire poster from 1996. And when the VHS came out and then the actual DVD, you see it says unrated version. Two things. The beginning. And by the way, remember how Jeff said something about, well, they should have maybe explored the backstory of some of the characters? No. Instead of putting extra footage in with backstory, let's make the wet stripper pole swing, the wet shower swing, flash dance stripper scene. Let's make the credits an actual extra 4 minutes long. Let's put 2 more minutes of her in the bathtub, and make that scene longer. And also, at the end of this movie, if you own this DVD with the unrated version, after the credits of the movie end, it's not even a special section. It just, after the credits, there is 22 minutes of footage of her on the swing.
Good Lord.
22 minutes. I don't know why you'd need 22 minutes. I'm thinking 4 minutes, 3 minutes would do. But there's 22 minutes. And by the way, the footage is no music. It's just the swing, close-up shots over and over and over again. So someone had fun editing that, but that is what you get. And then you also get a Blu-ray. And if you'll notice on the Blu-ray, the original DVD that came out in 1997 has Pamela Anderson Lee. The Blu-ray post-divorce just says Pamela Anderson. So there you go. I also want to plug Udo Kier, who played her Alfred. Check him out in Iron Sky. If you haven't seen Iron Sky, go to your nearest Dollar Tree and you can find this Blu-ray. Killer movie. I'm going to sum up this movie with Udo. He stars in it, amongst other people. It's about astronauts who go to the moon for political reasons in the late 2015s. And they discover that Nazis are living on the dark side of the moon. So you had me in Dark Side of the Moon, Nazis, and a president that resembles Sarah Palin making moon missions just so she could get good PR for her campaigns. Great stuff. But again, great actors that we see in today's stuff. Pamela Anderson, of course, doesn't act anymore. She just kind of marries guys and goes and lives in European countries and comes back and marries another guy. But I will have to say that with that 3 million, or I'm sorry, almost 4 million that they made, they had to make up their money. So in 1997, they also put out calendars, posters. I do think they missed the boat because I would have bought a hell of a lot of action figures if they would have made.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. But, you know, it's sad that we don't have any chat people right now. They probably saw the stream go down and they missed out on it. But, you know, it's to sum up to the folks here. Well,
Can I just say one thing real quick? You know that one scene that you were talking about, her behind the table shooting, not in the movie adaptation comic book.
no.
I just looked through the whole thing.
Do you see this shot? This was the before the movie. This was me trading notes with her on set before the film. Anyway. And by the way, that is Pamela Anderson, and that is me in 1994. So,
Wow.
yes, 1994.
94.
So after a wild weekend, we parted ways. And the next time I saw her, she was on another beach running around with David Hasselhoff. But
German legend.
that's also why I ran out to see this film the weekend it opened, because as I said, you know how Daryl said 19-year-old me. I was, when that picture was taken, I think I was 20 years old. And then when this movie came out, I think I was 22 years old. I remember seeing the trailer for it, which was even cheesier than the film. And I just thought, hey, it's Pamela Anderson and guns and leather and motorcycles. And I'm like, I'm all in. And again, I think, you know, Daniel had stated, hey, it's about entertainment. You know, we go to see movies, action flicks, especially for that popcorn factor. We're not going there to see, you know, Gone with the Wind or Casablanca or Citizen Kane. We're not even going there probably to see Star Wars. But, you know, there's no difference in Pamela Anderson's lines and her delivery. There is nothing, you know, and I'm going to go to bat. Here's my hot take. There's nothing more awkward or more unrealistic in her delivery than in any action movie of the 90s, unless it's like Harrison Ford or you know, what's his face who was in Blade, Wesley Snipes. Most of the Schwarzenegger, Stallone, Van Damme type lines were just as stupid and just as unconvincing. And it's only because we're a staunch patriarchy that we think that a beautiful woman can't deliver those same lines with conviction. And again, I didn't state it in this take two, but in the first stream that got interrupted, I honestly said over and over again, the world at large knew Pamela Anderson Lee at the time as a Playboy playmate and CJ Parker on Baywatch and Tool Time Girl, and also knew her from her wild romantic escapades, and also for a sex tape, which came out at around the same time. So she was like, I think at the time, I equate Pamela Anderson starring in this movie to them casting one of the Kardashians or Paris Hilton in an action movie today. People are not going to take it seriously, whether she's convincing or not. So I think the producers of the movie were thinking straight with their casting, but at the same time, I think they were thinking with the wrong head, because they should have probably, the people that made this movie, Dark Horse Comics, and the producer of this movie, he produced 2 films before this movie. One was Time Cop, and the other one was The Mask. And to be honest with you, maybe they would have had a better success going with Cameron Diaz, who starred in The Mask and who was relatively unknown. I don't know. Maybe a young Charlize Theron could have been great in this movie. But let's state fact. The actual comic book character, Barbara Kapetsky, also known as Barbed Wire, Pamela Lee was like a barbed wire figure or a barbed wire character come to life. She's the closest thing at the time to a real Jessica Rabbit. So in that sense, it made sense. Speaking of merchandise and the long-lasting impacts of barbed wire, Daryl, I want you to show me those 2 covers behind you because no one saw them in this stream.
Oh.
And then I also want your closing thoughts and maybe a rating for tonight's review. Take 2. That is the first appearance of barbed wire. That only cost $1 when it came out, by the way.
Yep. All in all, for me, I thought it was all right. I mean, it's nothing that 49-year-old Daryl is going to go out and try to find. And here's the maybe adaptation.
Yep.
Looking impressive on that motorcycle, by the way.
And that is a Triumph motorcycle, a vintage Triumph motorcycle. So, and
yes, it is Pamela Anderson Lee on here. And a rating for me, I got 6. So maybe nothing that I'm going to go out of my way to try to find, but if it's on TV, I probably won't turn it.
That's a pretty good rating. Mm-hmm. And by the way, it's not available on any streaming services. You got to buy it.
I looked and looked.
All right. I see since Jeff is still playing with a bunch of stuff there, I'm going to go to Daniel. Daniel, I'd like an overall a summary, a closing statement and a rating on it.
So I think you said it best when you're just like you go into this movie to see things blow up, to see gunfire, to see, Pamela Anderson and various stages of undress. And so there's those 2 types of movies. Are you going to see cinema? Again, I use my air quotes, or are you going to see a movie? And in this case, you're going to see a movie. It's Fast and the Furious before there was Fast and the Furious. It's these big budget comic book adaptations before they were big budget comic book adaptations. The pubescent me seeing Pam Anderson I'm in for it. It did exactly what it was supposed to be, and I think, like you were saying, if they had cast Cameron Diaz or a better known actor or someone who we believe to have better acting chops, I don't think we're still talking about this movie. I think we're just saying it's the worst movie ever, never watch it. And there's probably still people that say that. But I think because of her being cast in the lead role, because of some of the exaggerated scenes, the quippy one-liners, the explosions. That's why we're still talking about it. I'm going to go with Daryl on this and say it's about a 5 or a 6. You know, if you just rate it on being a cheesy, fun action flick, it's a 6 all day for sure.
All right. Mr. Spankin' Rankin.
Well, as we're at that, we got this one. You know, since we're talking Baywatch, you know, I mean, we just keep them coming, right?
No pun intended.
Cha cha. So overall movie, I mean, there's some good acting, but as far as the action value that it brings, to me, revisiting it now, I actually thought that the action was pretty consistent, like from the beginning all the way to the end. It really didn't let up a whole lot. So there was actually a lot of action, and it was put together well. It had a decent story. There was just, you know, some of the acting that kind of, like, I guess didn't bring you into that like believable role. And that's probably what the deep voice, like, are you talking to me? I mean, if I was to get really pissed off because my brother died, you know, and I was getting revenge, it would be like, you know, I'm getting revenge. But I didn't get that. It's like, you bastards, you killed my brother, you know, like a Chinese flick, you know, that we would be seeing. I mean, or you know, some sort of kung fu movie. How dare you kill my brother? You know, I mean, it was kind of like that. So overall, with my cheesiness that I'm just throwing out there, I give it like a 5.56, same with the guys. You know, I definitely don't think that it's under that, because when we start looking at it for the movie value and for action, it is definitely enjoyable from that standpoint. And you know what? The acting kind of gives you a little bit of a chuckle inside. So you kind of leave going, what the hell did I just watch? That was kind of cool, right? So I'll give it a good between 5 and 6 myself.
Fair enough. I'm gonna base it on 3 criteria. The first, I'm gonna say that again, as a comic book movie, everybody today talks about, oh geez, it doesn't resemble the comic, and it doesn't have the feel of the comic, and the girl's costume or the guy's costume doesn't look like a comic, and it's this and it's that and it's this and it's that, and fuck, this isn't the comic book I read. Okay. So my first criteria is, for a comic book movie, the casting, between the casting of Pamela Anderson and the approach visually, aesthetically, and the idea that, remember, we're talking 1996, Wizard magazine and every other comic journalism, you know, media out there, everything's about bad girls, bad girls, bad girls, bad girls. And by the way, even though the movie had already come out, the only other sci-fi female-led thing that came out close to this was in 1997. Joss Whedon and the CW, or WB at the time, released a show called Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So we, other than Ripley in Aliens, and there was a movie with Sharon Stone where she was in the Wild West with Gene Hackman, and I don't remember the name off the top of my head, but there weren't any movies where there were women kicking ass. Now, so based on a comic book bad girl frenzy that was going on, I actually give the movie a 9 out of 10 for casting and comic book representation. B, as an overall, or as an action 90s film, I'm going to give it a 7. And as an overall film, I'm also going to give it a 7, just because I know from being on sets from commercials, just 30 and 60-second commercials. I know how hard it is to film anything and have it so that it's talked about on shitty YouTube channels 20 years later. Now, again, I'm going to say the movie was not a success because of the timing, the overall paparazzi celebrity status of Pamela Anderson at the time, and from her pre-existing roles from CJ Parker and to whatever. So people were not, and also the marketing just made it look cheesy to begin with, and the ideas, the trailers were 10 times cheesier than the commercial. There was even a thing where it's like tougher than Stallone, tougher than Schwarzenegger bullshit. They were setting themselves up for failure. But overall, I think the movie deserves a 7 because, again, I have a very close relationship over 30 years with Pamela Anderson. And you know what? Even today, I'm still going to watch it and enjoy it. And, it's boobs, guns, and explosions. And that's really all you need in life, guys. We're taking the world too seriously. We should have more boobs, more high heels, more explosions. I mean, and by the way, the movie has a cult status. I don't know if you have seen this, but first of all, like I stated earlier, that got cut off. Hulu is making a Pam and Tommy movie starring Lily Collins and Stan Sebastian from The Winter Soldier. And first of all, they look exactly like Pam and Tommy. It comes out in the next year on Hulu. And by the way, it's based around this time because Pamela and Tommy got married just prior to this movie starting filming. So it's maybe the movie will even be covered in this biopic movie or TV series or whatever it is. And believe it or not, a lot of Hollywood celebrities, Kendall Jenner, and some other ladies that I've seen on Instagram, or at least I was told about, they like to dress up as barbed wire for Halloween. Now, it's a 25-year-old movie, and there's young 20-year-olds dressing up as the character barbed wire 26 years later, 25 years later. There's something to be said about that. And unlike The Crow, she didn't have to die for us to be talking about it tonight. So
just to add to that, I was actually just thinking about that, Anthony, is that, there was a way that ladies back then, the way they dressed in a lingerie, right? Let's be real here. There's a lot of clothes on. She's completely clothed, but it is sexy. It is done in a very classy, sexy way. It draws you in. A lot different than the way things are. So if young ladies today are like, oh, I want to be like, it's because there's a certain kind of like seduction there.
Well, you notice too how many young ladies, and when I say young ladies, I mean actual celebrities.
Yeah.
TV stars, movie actresses, models, they like dressing up like Michelle Pfeiffer from Batman Returns also. It's got to be something about you can be sexy but still stylish. And that's what I mean when the comic book aesthetic, when you have bad girl comics or even comics today, not so much anymore, but you have these super heroines dressed in the most uncomfortable, untactical clothes possible. It's still fun to watch because, again, it's the aesthetic. The same has to do about, centerfolds and models back in the day. They used to they would pose. And I'm talking about from in even fashion magazines, you would pick up a Playboy or, those FHMs that you were just showing.
Right.
I guarantee you that Pamela Anderson is in a real studio with a real shoot, like a David LaChapelle type guy. And there's all kinds of lingerie and fancy, frilly stuff and leather. Today, let's face it, the women, even in Playboy and Penthouse or I was going to say Maxim, that's how old I am. Magazines that don't exist anymore, even online, the women are just they're wearing a towel or a tattoo. There's nothing, there's no glamour behind everything, behind anything anymore. So there has to be something said about the aesthetic of both the comic books and visual medium back there, because guess what? We didn't have any special effects. So what you had to do is you had to make things look really good in person with wardrobe and hair and makeup. And guys, look at how good we look with all the hair, makeup, and wardrobe we got going on. I mean, look at this Spider-Man shirt and whatever the hell's Jeff yacht shirt he's wearing. And you got some like Funko Pop shirt that Daryl has. And Daniel's shirt says something about getting a BJ or something. I don't know.
Yeah. You
Whatever
mean to
those
tell me you
letters
know
are.
Fujitsu?
But guys, I want to thank everybody for sharing your evening with me. I'm very upset. I think what it was is because I played that second clip, I just couldn't show restraint. I thought, okay, the first one went okay. Might as well show the second one. And that damn Rashida Jones, that commercial ruined our fucking, you would think they would want their commercial aired during a Barbed Wire review. I mean, but anyway, that's what's going on. I'm gonna play before we go. I'm gonna play like real podcasts do, and I'm gonna ask everybody what they're doing over the next week. Daryl, what's going on with you?
Thursday, disc golf chant. That's about it.
Are you going to be joining me Sunday for?
I should be there Sunday. Cantonese Comic Kid at 9:00.
Okay, that works. All right, Chef Rankin, what are you doing besides getting a shipment of PA equipment tomorrow from me?
This week, this year, going to be hanging a new chandelier. I got to do that. That's kind of on my priority list. And I got some new equipment. So musically, I'm going to be messing with some new sounds and seeing what I can do.
Sounds good. Mr. Driscoll, when you're not fighting fires, what are you going to be doing this week?
Oh, going to be doing lots of that and then teaching people how to do that. But no, the wife and I are going to head out to our monthly visit to Universal Studios this week. We got passes. We try to go once a month. Kind of my little stress vacation, teaching people how to fight fires and fighting them myself. You gotta have your vices to go and blow off steam. But that's about it.
Well, this Sunday I'm going to be on the Cantonese Comic Kids Extreme Nerd Table cast, talking about whatever movie or TV show Chloe Grace Moretz is going to be in. I'm usually joined by Daryl here, if he's not too busy actually in the chat to actually be on the stream with us. That is, and then
it was Father's Day. My brother's got kids. Family,
okay.
Come on.
All good. I got kids,
and don't call me babe.
I have a kid. I was there, and then tomorrow night I have to drop off a whole bunch of PA equipment at Jeff Rankin's house, because I've been storing it for him since before the pandemic, because I was using it, and I'm having a garage sale this Saturday morning. So Daryl, if you'd like to take a trip from Virginia down to my garage sale, I am going to be selling some comics. So
I need an extra garage.
Come on down. I'll have a couple of dollar boxes for you to look through. And then, of course, Sunday I'm going to be doing a show with Cantonese Comic Kid, talking about everything nerd. And then I'm also working on my book, Misty America. And you'll notice a new cover I did. I think the lead Misty looks a lot like Pamela Anderson in this picture. And she never skips leg day. and Jeff Rankin, that might be you in that jetpack flying over her head. I'm not sure. But yeah, so I'm going to get sued because I'm naming all my friends after characters in the book. But other than that, and I'm going in a couple of weeks, I think 3 weeks or 4 weeks, I'm going with Daniel Driscoll down here. We're going to be going to a signing in Orlando to meet Rob Liefeld.
Oh, sweet.
He's got a Rob Liefeld signing. He's doing a tour of Florida, doing like 5 stores, charging a lot of money, but we're going to go see him anyway. And I think Daniel's going to get him like to sign one of his tattoos. And then Daniel actually has a friend of his who is a tattoo artist. And he's actually going to like, I think Daniel, you were going to have him bring his gun, and he was going to ink over the tattoo while driving on I-4. He's going to.
That was his idea. I think Jeff. I think you actually know him. I think Mike. Yeah.
Yeah, man. He's the one who just did mine.
Yeah, I saw it on his Instagram page. I was like, that looks like Jeff's tattoo.
What a small world, huh?
Yeah.
So Mike is going to be going with us to go see Rob Liefeld in Orlando.
That's awesome, man.
And he's the guy that drew the tattoo on Jeff's arms. Jeff's arm. I connected that too because I thought the tattoo illustration was so good. I'm like, well, boy, I bet you it's the same dude. So anyway, that's it, man. I'm not getting any more tattoos. I got tattoos of bands I used to play in with Jeff Rankin that no longer exist. So I've stopped doing that. Jeff's like an ex-girlfriend that I had a tattoo of, and now it doesn't exist anymore. But anyway, so that's me. I'm going to be working on Misty America, and I'm going to be attending MegaCon as a customer, but I'm not going to jinx myself, but I might actually be at MegaCon as a guest artist. You never know. So that's that. And got a couple of conventions coming up. I don't know if I'm going to do this review next week, guys. I know Daniel's Daniel's working. And to be honest with you, I need to catch up on some comic book stuff. So I might be doing just a live stream. However, let's tell our audience and just talk out loud for a minute right now before I sign off. Daryl, what 2 movies on your mind that you want to review?
Gosh, I don't know. We're going 90s, right?
I want to stick with the 90s for right now.
Wow, I was going to say Terminator, but that was in the 80s.
It's okay.
I don't know. Come back to me.
All right, how about Daniel?
From those days.
Daniel, 90s.
If we're going to revisit Van Damme, I would love to do Sudden Death.
Okay.
It's Die Hard in a hockey rink, and he's a firefighter, so I'm in the bag for that one. If we're going to stay in the comic book realm, I would not mind revisiting Blade.
All right, that's nice.
That cool. Leather trench coat, 90s goth club, that opening scene with the blood, and perfect.
How about you, Mr. Rankin?
Oh my gosh, there's a number of them.
Wayne's World.
Blade was definitely on that list. Thanks. That's one of my favorite trilogies.
So good.
Matrix, one of the first Matrix.
Yeah.
No.
All right, that's one of my favorites. And then first Mortal Kombat that ever came out. I think that would be an interesting discussion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then a couple others that were on my mind. I think Total Recall was the late 80s or
1990. I was actually looking that up.
Yeah.
Oh, it's okay, because that would be a really interesting discussion between talk about that one and the new one that came out, and maybe a retrospect of that. And then, of course, I'm a big, huge Sylvester Stallone fan. So, if we're talking in the 90s,
Demolition Man.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go. We could do a whole Wesley Snipes.
That would be great because you got Wesley Snipes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Running that with the Blade thing, and then we also have Stallone and Sandra Bullock, just a number of great characters in there.
Well, since it's my channel, I'm going to say that I was going to say Demolition Man. That was my only pick. So we're going to do Demolition Man as the next broadcast. We're going to talk about the 3 shells. We're going to talk about Murder, Death, Kill. We're going to talk about.
I was looking at was Falling Down. Which
we're going to talk about. This is one of Sandra Bullock's first films. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff. We're going to talk about the wonderful acting, and we're going to talk about the fine dining that is Taco Bell. And by the way, we're also going to talk about how relevant Demolition Man is to our world right now. Because you could take every single fucking thing in that movie and relate it to now, especially political incorrectness, inappropriate language, censorship, blah, 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
The world becomes better and better, but it becomes more sterile and sterile. And maybe if we were down in the sewers with Dennis Leary, we wouldn't have caught COVID, because I think all those germs, they were immune to it all. So we're going to bring up all the relevance because, and by the way, especially the idea that there were plagues and viruses, and that's why they don't have sex anymore physically, and that's why they don't use toilet paper anymore, and we almost ran out of toilet paper. I just think the irony of the Demolition Man world and the modern world that we live in is so close that it would be a shame not to discuss it when we're going to take a little hiatus, maybe 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, come back and do a show on Demolition Man. And also, bonus points. Anybody tell me what band played the song Demolition Man that it was named after? It's the Police. Thank you very much. The Police.
Well, that's why I don't know.
Had a song called Demolition Man, and the soundtrack of the movie credits end with a new version of Demolition Man by Mr. Sting, or Mr. Sumner, as his parents called him. Anyway, everybody, I bid you all adieu. This has been a great take 2 of Barbed Wire. Now I have to change the graphics and do the description and everything. Thank you very much for YouTube for fucking up my broadcast tonight. But you know what? When you pick Barbed Wire to review, you're just asking for trouble anyway. Good night, everybody.
You got fined 1 credit.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I got murder, death, kill because by the way, I took something that anybody could watch on YouTube for free and shared it on my screen. So there you go, assholes. Thank you, Gramercy Studios. And Rashida Jones, you suck.
Rashida.